understand that anxiety personally, and so does my wife and our family. Just recently, I found myself stuck in the Middle East, arriving last Saturday in transit for work. What was supposed to be a straightforward journey turned into 5 days of uncertainty with a 41-hour journey across multiple continents before I was finally able to get home late Wednesday night. Those experiences give you a different perspective. You see firsthand how quickly normal life can turn into confusion, how difficult it is to find flights, secure transportation, or simply know what information to trust. I was on one of only 12 flights that left Dubai on Wednesday morning very early. Among several hundred flights that were canceled, only 12 of us got out, 12 aircraft got out, escorted by UAE fighter planes. The UAE, in that extraordinary moment, I witnessed something extraordinary, the incredible support of the government and the people of the United Arab Emirates. The UAE opened its doors, helped civilians find safe passage, and demonstrated what responsible international partnership looks like in a time of crisis. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, their professionalism and compassion deserves recognition and gratitude. At the same time, we must also confront some difficult questions here at home. Americans are hearing ever-changing explanations from the president about the reasons for the war. The rationale appears to have evolved over time from one justification to another. When a nation sends its sons and daughters into harm's way, clarity matters. Transparency matters. And the American people deserve a consistent explanation of the objectives, the strategy, and the end state. Equally important is the constitutional role of Congress. For more than 2 centuries, our system of government has relied on a careful balance of power when it comes to decisions about war. Many Americans are watching closely as Congress debates whether or not to assert its authority to define or limit the scope of military action. Another concern that deserves attention is the practical ability of our government to help Americans overseas during moments like this. Over the past several years, the budget of the State Department, the very institution responsible for diplomacy, crisis response, and helping Americans abroad, has been reduced dramatically. Nearly half of its resources have been cut. Diplomacy is not just about negotiations between governments. It is also about the ability to assist Americans when they find themselves in danger overseas.
So we're listening into that conversation there on Iran from just yesterday, and we wanted to share this post here with you. For Americans in the Middle East, there is emergency assistance. You can call that phone number on your screen or head to step.state.gov. That phone number being 202-501-4444 or step.state.gov. We'll continue this discussion on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break. Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We just got a brief 20-second feed of President Trump as he is now leaving Florida. He's heading to Delaware. Putting this up on your screen, this just happening moments ago. We did not get any comments there from President Trump, but we do know this morning that he will attend the dignified transfer of the 6 Army Reserve soldiers who were killed Sunday when a drone hit a command center in Kuwait just one day after the U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury. That dignified transfer will take place at Dover Air Base today. That is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, bringing that to you once it does begin. In the meantime, we do want to stay on the topic of Iran, as we are going to head back to this press conference here that we were listening into that included Representative Deluzio as well as Matt Miller as they were speaking on Iran. Let's continue to listen in.
Crisis response in helping Americans abroad has been reduced dramatically. Nearly half of its resources have been cut. Diplomacy is not just about negotiations between governments. It is also about the ability to assist Americans when they find themselves in danger overseas. When crises erupt, embassies and consulates become lifelines. They coordinate evacuations. They provide information. They help families reconnect. But when those capabilities are reduced, the consequences become painfully visible during moments exactly like this. And so today, alongside the strategic discussions about military operations, we must also remember the broader human dimension of this conflict. The service members carrying out their missions with professionalism, the families of everyone awaiting anxiously for news, the civilians trying to find safe passage home, and the thousands of American families here at home who are watching events unfold and wondering what tomorrow will bring. Our government has absolutely failed us in terms of leaving so many of our citizens abandoned in the Middle East, whereas we saw our compatriots in the hotels from the Germans, the French, the Brits, the Czechs, and many other countries receive notifications from their countries about where and how to evacuate. I personally talked to the embassies that were there. I also talked to the State Department, and they basically said, you are on your own. We cannot help you. And indeed, by the way, my heart goes out to all those members in the embassy, all those people in the embassies and the consulates, because they were under fire regularly and they could only move themselves into survival mode versus the idea of helping the many tens of thousands of Americans to get home. So today, in moments of uncertainty, our nation is strongest when we combine resolve with compassion, strength through wisdom, and military power with thoughtful diplomacy. We owe that balance to our service members today, to our citizens abroad, and to the families who are depending on their leaders to navigate this moment carefully. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, General Vanner. Now we'll hear from Matthew Miller, former State Department spokesperson who brings deep experience in U.S. foreign policy and diplomacy. Matthew, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Julie. Let me start by saying I just want to second everything that Congressman Deluzio and General Manner said, and I want to focus my remarks on a few key areas where in this first week of the war, the administration has really failed in its first priority, which is to uphold the safety and security of our U.S. personnel and U.S. citizens. In advance of a conflict, and I'll tell you from being inside the government, both at the National Security Council and at the State Department, there are 4 key things you expect the administration to do outside of the military planning and military execution. One is hardening our embassies and consulates in a region that is expected to be under fire against attacks. 2, getting our diplomats and other U.S. personnel in the region out of harm's way. 3, warning U.S. civilians in an affected region that there may be a threat to their safety and security, and they may want to consider traveling to avoid that threat. And number 4, preparing for terrorist attacks against the homeland. In each of those 4 areas, we have seen evidence in this first week that the administration failed to do its job to plan and to execute to protect American citizens. Let me go through them in brief. With the first, hardening our embassies. We know that when there are tensions in the Middle East, there are likely to be threats to our embassies in the region. We have seen in the past protests that have turned into attacks that have led to the deaths of diplomats, tragically led to the deaths of other personnel. And so there is a playbook that our embassies follow to prepare against those threats. This is not just in countries where conflict is breaking out, but also in other countries where we know tensions may be on the rise. There are things that we do to improve internal security, but there's also an important one of the most important steps we take, which is to coordinate with the host government security forces to ensure that there is a perimeter around our embassies and that they are protected so protests can't get out of hand and turn into threats to our diplomats and other personnel. You would expect the administration.
Make it a habit, 7 minutes of Tai Chi every morning all the way for 1 month. This Monday, we will start the advanced Tai Chi workout for beginner men aged 40 to 60 plus. Just 7 minutes a day to reset your body and mind. Week 1, you'll feel the difference. Week 2, you'll see the change. Week 3, you'll move like never before. Tap the screen to restart your journey.
GoDaddy has the perfect hosting plan for any website. From low-cost shared hosting to your own virtual